I stood on the front step. I gazed over the horizon. I don't see anybody else coming, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. Late arrivals will just have to catch up with the notes. My name's Rick Fernandez. I'm the president of the Tampa Heights Civic Association. I welcome you to our community parlor. Thank you very much for making it today. This is the February 26th general meeting of the Civic Association. Just by way of protocol, we are streaming live on Zoom. I mentioned this at the top of every meeting, so I apologize for those of you who are regulars for the redundancy. We do have two audiences, folks here in the room and those who are able to join us online. The numbers vary. Sometimes there's nobody. Sometimes we'll have 5, 10 or more. I don't know what it'll be today, but in any event, there are two mics up here. This one is for in the room, you folks. The other, this round mic here on the podium, is for the people on Zoom. So please be cognizant of that. If you're up here at the podium and you're speaking, be aware that you have two audiences. If you take a question from the audience, I ask first the audience member, try to project your voice as much as possible, but failing that, the speaker, the person answering the question, please repeat the question so folks at home will be able to know what you're talking about. All right, that's it as far as the rules of the game for Zoom, but I appreciate you bearing with me. A brief intro on the meeting tonight. Hopefully most of you, if not all of you, received the email announcement and other announcements we put out on social media. So this is, you'll already know this, but just to remind you, coming attractions. We're opening the meeting with Lynn Hurtak of Tampa City Council, sitting right up here in front, and Donnie Murray from HART. He's the public engagement manager. They will be talking to us about the Fare Free Route 1 program. That's the HART bus that runs up and down, well, up Florida Avenue and down Tampa, all the way out to the USF area and then back around. We'll be talking, or they'll be talking about the Fare Free program that kicked off at the beginning of this year and update you on the progress of that. Also talk to you about the neighborhood ride along on Route 1 that's being planned for March the 1st. I'm not going to take anything off of that. I'll just tell you March the 1st is a date to remember and to save. 11 a.m. out in front of Sprouts, and the rest of it you'll hear about from Lynn. Also, following their presentation, we will be getting what I guess is turning out to be the annual update. I think the last time we did this was last January, if I remember right, over at Armature Works. An update on the Robles Park Village development. I have Dan Coakley here to speak to you. He's the principal with PMG Affordable and his team. So they'll be up after Lynn and Donnie. We should be able to close the meeting out somewhere around 8:15 or so for your scheduling purposes. Quick announcements. March 14th, we have a porch party scheduled at the Tampa Heights Community Garden. That's at 5:30 p.m., 5:30 to 7:30. So another date, please, to jot down and save. You can certainly get more information from that or about that on our website. But again, March 14th at 5:30. That's after the time change. Then let's see, March 26th is the next general meeting of this association here. March 29th, in an unaffiliated event, but nonetheless very collateral and important to us, a garden to table function at the community garden. Lena probably can give us a little bit more update on that in a bit, but that's March 29th. And what time is that, Lena? 5. You'll see, I've seen signs all over the neighborhood for this. In fact, there's one right outside the building here. I've been to this event before. It's very nicely done in the pavilion area. It's beautiful. There's entertainment scheduled. It's a very nice dinner. So if you're able to make it, it's not associated with the Civic Association per se, but we certainly are supporting it in any way we can. That's it as far as announcements. So with that said, I'm going to call up City Councilwoman Lynn Hurtak and Donnie. I guess if you're coming up at the same time. Again, that's Donnie Murray, Public Engagement Manager with HART. Okay.
Hello, everyone. How are y'all tonight? It's always nice to be in Tampa Heights. So we're going to talk today a little bit about the bus and the new Route 1 Route 1 Fare Free program and how successful it's been. And I'm going to let Donnie start by talking about some of the HART issues, and then I'm going to be talking a little bit about the advocacy and how this happened and what we can do to move things forward.
Awesome. So thanks again for your time. My name is Donnie Murray. I'm the manager of community engagement. So my job is to come out into the community, give information, receive feedback. So after I give you this information, also if there are questions for either me or Miss Lynn, I'm also ready to take that and answer your question. And I can always come back if I don't have the answer today. So if I could go to the next slide, please. So I'm going to cover just what is Route 1. It is free as of January of this year. It's going to be free as a temporary pilot for the rest of this year. So it's going to go all the way until January 4th. That means when you board the Route 1, you do not have to pay any sort of fare, any sort of fee, any sort of ticket, any sort of money. You can just hop on, hop off for the entire year. This is our route that starts in downtown at our Marion Transit Center hub, actually a little bit south of that in downtown. Goes all the way up Florida and Tampa Street, all the way to Fletcher Avenue and ends at our University Transit Center. So all the destinations along Florida Avenue, we're talking James A. Haley Veterans Hospital, we're talking about all the parks, all the libraries, all the healthcare centers, YMCA, the high school, career source, all these destinations. And even once you get to UATC at that transit center, the Bull Runner for USF connects there. We now have USF a lot more present in downtown. So just the amount of businesses and people that are able to use this service now has been expanded. With this money that Ms. Lynn Hurtak was able to get for us, this is money that came from the city of Tampa. HART was not able to fund this, so thank goodness that she was able to put in that motion for the city to fund this project. That money is going for the free fares themselves. It covers that cost, along with increased frequency. So the bus now comes every 15 minutes instead of every 20 minutes. And that 5 minutes really does make a big difference if you do happen to miss that one bus. The next one coming really isn't that far after. So it's every 15 minutes from about 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. during the weekdays. And then on weekends, it is still every 30 minutes, but it still comes starting early in the morning and going into the evenings. Next slide. So why we chose Route 1, one of the big reasons is that Route 1 is one of the most used routes in the entire HART system. We operate routes in all of Hillsborough County, and Florida Avenue is at the top, if not the top, of our highest ridership, about 3,000 trips taken every single day. That southern part of the route does connect to the streetcar, so you're getting a free service connected to a free service. It serves directly that station 11. So for continuing that trip, if you need to get into Channelside or Ybor, it's really a seamless connection. The Route 1 also connects to over 70% of all of the other routes. So all those east-west connections that are happening across Florida, there are a lot of different transfers that happen. So just with connectivity with the entire system, it made a lot of sense for us. We've also been looking at Florida Avenue as a long-term plan for either having a bus-only lane, BRT, whatever that looks like. So getting a free service, trying to understand the appetite for how people want to use the service, this really helps us, and the TPO as well, looking at BRT along Florida, along with the extending the streetcar through downtown up into Tampa Heights, kind of where Armature Works is. All that connected together, really we want to make sure that we understand how people actually want to use the service if that fare isn't in the way. And then overall, Route 1 does have a lot of benefits too. It serves a lot of disabilities, minorities, jobs, residents. It has really big numbers for making sure that HART in general, as a public transit provider, is able to provide access, but also be equitable at the same time. Next slide, please. So also too, why are we doing free fares? Why is that important to us? Also, why transit in general? One of the benefits of doing free fares is that the trip itself is going to be a lot quicker. I don't know if you've ever ridden a bus recently, but when you are trying to get onto the bus and you see people maybe fumble for their cash, looking for their Flamingo cards, it can really slow down the bus if you're talking about that for the entire length. I'm going to get to the slide later, but we've actually seen a lot of the buses now are starting to run early because they don't need that time anymore for people. So overall, the trip itself is a lot quicker, getting from point A to point B. Again, it provides an option for that daily link. So for people that just need access to get to their grocery store, to their medical appointments, to their local restaurant, getting to your job, whatever it might be, you now also have a connection option as well. Providing this free route also is a great economic stimulant. It's going to bring people into the Florida Avenue corridor that may not have visited otherwise. Spending that money also with restaurants as well. They don't have to worry about parking, so they may be able to host more people if their parking lots fill up. And overall, it's just providing more choices. It's giving people an option to not have to be stuck in traffic, to not have to worry about any of those other options, and if they want to be environmentally conscious. And I do have just some general things about why we want to focus on transit in general. we have a vision for creating better neighborhoods and better cities. We want to make sure that people have the option that they don't have to get into the car to drive to their nearest grocery store or to drive to get a meal for the evening, that you can either walk there or bike there or just have a lot of options. And also that you don't have to have a spot of parking when that parking spot could actually be a business, providing to the economy, providing for the neighborhood. It's a lot better for your personal finances. You're not having to spend money on car maintenance, car gas, car insurance, all that brouhaha. It's also more productive to be riding the bus. You know, instead of sitting in traffic with your shoulders clenched like this, you may be able to read a book on the bus or just get that time back instead of driving. There's a lot of benefits too with taking transit because you're getting a couple extra steps in during your day. And again, well-being. So again, instead of being stressed in traffic, maybe worried about your safety, you're not having to worry about that traffic anymore. And there's a lot of benefits for your health and wellness as well. Next slide. So now that we've made it free, how's it going? In the month of January, we saw a 26% increase in ridership. So we're seeing about 109,000 trips in all of January. Whereas in comparison, the streetcar, which has been free for a while now, had only 101,000 rides. So it's already surpassed how much the streetcar is doing, which is pretty incredible. And if we look at the numbers too, comparing this time to last year, you're seeing a lot of increases. The one thing I want to point out is that in January, the weekday average, we were seeing about 4,100 trips. The recent numbers that we've got in, we're still trying to validate those for accuracy, but we're looking at about 4,900. So already we're seeing in just 2 months. That's crazy. It's really surpassing the projections that we thought we were going to have. You can see a couple other stats on here if you're interested about how it's improving our on-time performance. The numbers are increasing, and as I mentioned, those numbers actually are coming from the bus leaving early instead of coming late, and now we just have to go back and fix our schedule to make it a lot quicker. So we're just seeing a lot of improvements overall just for the service itself, just by making the service free. Next slide. Now I will hand it over to Councilwoman Hurtak.
Thank you. And I'm obviously, you know, I'm really excited about this. This is one of my big initiatives. And this actually came together with a group called Transit Now Tampa Bay, and it's a public transit advocacy coalition of individuals and organizations united around the mission to improve and increase public transit infrastructure, mode options, and programs so that our city, county, and region can meet the transportation needs of Tampa Bay residents, regardless of economic class, ability, or background. So the coalition's come together over the last year, and we'll have an ongoing committed presence to Tampa Bay, supporting and advocating for public transit. So last year, this coalition created a petition in August, which is our budget time, and asked for $10 million to go for transit. They just went all out. Well, I heard about the idea, and we had a budget item in the budget that would take $1.5 million from parking revenue. By the way, this is not tax money. This is all parking revenue. That's what's paying for this. And the city wanted to put $1.5 million into EV charging stations in city parking garages. And that, to me, just wasn't a great return on investment, given the nature and the difficulty of maintaining those, things like that. We could partner with an organization that could do that and give us a little money kickback, but we didn't need to do it ourselves. So I decided, and having talked to working with Justin Willits, knowing that this was about what it would cost to get this Route 1 fare free, I decided to propose it, and people hopped on. So we had Alan Clendenin, Louis Vieira, who's the HART board chair, and Guido Maniscalco voted with me on this initiative. And Guido and Alan recognized the importance for a city like Tampa to give people the opportunity to try the bus, same like they've done with the streetcar. And in fact, Route 1 actually serves more workers and locals, and therefore it was worthy of the subsidy. That's basically what they said. So just to let you know why folks voted against it, Gwen Henderson, who's actually on the HART board, didn't vote for it, along with Bill Carlson, basically because they said that they don't think that funding the bus is the city's job. That is not something that we need to do. But we certainly need to dedicate funding sources that can sufficiently improve the system. But the problem with that is the way to get that money is to increase millage on property taxes, and that has to go through the county. If you have stayed in touch with what's going on in the county right now, there's no way that will ever see the ballot light of day. That's just not going to happen, at least in this current reality. It doesn't mean we can't work on it, but to do something right away, this was our best option. And if you saw the editorial by John Hill in the Tampa Bay Times last month, he laid out a great argument for why funding the bus is very much the responsibility of the city, as it is as much of a tool of economic development as it is a requirement for the ability of the working class to survive and thrive. So I'm reading some of the notes from Dana, who couldn't be here tonight because she wasn't feeling well. Next slide. So these are some photos from the advocacy efforts at council. They did a fact sheet and they took a screenshot of the mayor saying that transportation is the biggest issue in the city of Tampa, yet the mayor did not support this initiative and fought very hard in the background to kill it. So in fact, we didn't even get the MOU signed until the end of January. They fought it tooth and nail until the very end. So just so you know, I mean, while we talk a good game about transit, that's not necessarily what is happening in the city. So this is something that we need to advocate for a lot more. Next slide. One of the things that Transit Now Tampa Bay has done has created a map of all of the destinations you can get to on Route 1. So if you want to take a quick photo of this, it's just simply bit.ly / Route 1 destinations, and you can find out all the types of things that are along Florida Avenue. I mean, we all have Google, but also it's just nice sometimes to know what's there. I'll tell you, I live just north of Hillsborough on Florida Ave, and I can't tell you how many times I've taken the bus down to the Independent just because I can. It's one of those things instead of walking. So just so you know how quickly you can get to things. Next slide. So if you are at all interested in this initiative, even if you just want to be kept up to date, just get some newsletters, or if you really want to help advocate for the future of funding of transit, definitely follow Transit Now Tampa Bay on Instagram and Facebook. They have a really robust Facebook group. They're always discussing different transit things. Dana Lazarus is the email contact, and you can reach her at either email address. And then, of course, we have the HART social media, and HART social media is awesome, by the way. If you don't follow them, especially on Instagram, they're really fun. I don't use Facebook that much, but Instagram has been wonderful. And next slide, Tampa Heights. Whoops, this isn't, I think it's one more.
You're at the very end.
Oh, sorry.
You're gonna
Sorry.
Okay. So I'm just going to briefly go over just some quick stuff on how you actually ride the bus in case maybe it's been a while or you haven't done it before. Next slide, please. If you are interested on how to use the bus, all of our information is right in Google Maps. It's a great first start. All of our buses have GPSs on them, so you can track them in real time. You can see where the bus stop is. When you plan a trip, just like planning a driving trip, it'll tell you the route number. You can plan the trip to say, hey, I want to arrive at this destination at 5 o'clock or leave at 5 o'clock. It'll give you all the schedules, how long it's going to take. All the information you basically need to plan your trip is already built into Google Maps. It's really easy just to kind of figure out where is the nearest bus stop to me, how long it's going to take, is there even an option for me? Next slide. Then if you are interested in actually using the bus, I do recommend downloading the Transit app. This is just really helpful for getting that like immediate, when is my nearest bus going to arrive to me? There's also some great trip planning tools, a lot of extra features in there. This is also used around the country. So if you go to New York, Portland, DC, Seattle, small town, most likely they're also having their information on this app as well. So it's great for traveling as well. Free app, absolutely. Next slide. So when you're trying to ride the bus, you're first going to look for the HART bus stop sign. They all say HART bus stop on them. Just because there might be a bench with an ad on it doesn't make it a HART bus stop. Sometimes those benches are just out in the community, so you might be sitting at that bench and a bus doesn't come. So just make sure that wherever you are, there is an actual bus stop sign. About a third of our bus stops throughout the entire county do have a shelter in case it's rainy during the summer season, so you can also look for the shelter as well. Couple tips just to arrive early, just because it says it's arriving at 5:30, it might be running early or a bit late. So always just arrive early on time, have everything with you, and make sure that you know where your designated crosswalk is. We don't want people having to run across dangerous intersections and roads. Next slide. The bus itself will indicate on the front and on the side what the number is, because we do have other routes that have different numbers. Some of them travel on Florida Avenue. So I don't want you getting on the Route 30 or the Route 5 on accident. So make sure you look at the route. It's going to say 1. It'll also say the destination that it's going to. It's either going to say university or it's going to say downtown based on if it's going north or south, so you know which direction it is. Just a couple of tips that as the bus arrives, that you're standing away from the curb, allow other people to get off the bus before you get on. And again, if for whatever reason you miss that bus just by a split second, don't go chasing after the bus because they're not allowed to stop for you because that's just a safety hazard. Next slide. And then if you are a bike rider, all of our buses are equipped with two bike rack or a bike rack with two bike spots on board. It's really easy. You just squeeze the handle, pull it down, put the bike on, put a strap on, good to go. And as long as you just let the bus driver know when you're getting off, hey, I'm going to get my bike off, it's easy just to pull it off and you're good to go. Next slide. Then as you're exiting, on the inside of the bus, there is a cord that you'll pull down and it'll go ding, stop requested. That's how you let the bus driver know that you want to get off at your next stop. It's also why using the transit app is really helpful because it actually shows you where the stops are and you can plan your trip so that as you cross one intersection, you know where the next stop is. It kind of tells you when to pull that cord. It's really helpful. Just quick little thing, gathering your belongings, cleaning up trash, stay in your seat until it comes to a stop so you're not accidentally jerked. And again, find out where your crosswalks are. Next slide. And now I will hand it back over for the big finale.
So we chose Tampa Heights as the first ride. We're going to be doing rides throughout the year, trying to get people on the bus to just give it a try. If you've never been on the bus before, or it's been a while since you've been on the bus, or you used to take the bus when you lived in Chicago and you don't see the point in Tampa, we're just trying to get more people on the bus to experience what it's like. It doesn't mean that you have to give up your car. It just means that get on the bus, give it a try. So what we're doing, we're calling it a wonderful ride. This Saturday at 11 a.m., we're going to meet at the Sprouts. And if all goes well and it's not super crowded, but we don't know because so many people have been on the bus, we're going to take the bus down to the streetcar, which is right at Franklin and Whiting, and we'll get off the bus and we'll get on the streetcar, take it down to Sparkman Wharf, and then everyone can just get their own lunch or a drink or whatever. We'll stand, we'll chat for a little bit, and then we'll hop back on the streetcar and ride on the bus so you can see how to get back. It is just a quick trip again, and we'll go through with the different apps, how to use them, how to figure out timing. I'm still really bad. Sometimes I miss the bus by like 2 minutes and it just kills me. So I'm late to work sometimes, but if you know anybody who would be interested in this, please don't hesitate to invite them. Come on out. You don't have to sign up. You can just show up. And if you can't make it this time, certainly follow either HART. I believe you shared this on the HART page. No?
I'll double check.
Okay. But either if you follow Transit Now Tampa Bay or you follow me on social media, I have been sharing these rides as well. So if you can't make it to this one, we're also going to be doing other community groups. We're trying to get business leaders. I may be able to get the Tampa Bay Builders Association on. I'm trying to get any type of group possible that you think might need to know about it. Because here's the biggest, best, most important thing, and I'm looking at my developer friends when I say this. Developers have to start advocating for transit in this city. If you are building transit-oriented development and you are not at city council or sending a letter of support when we're looking for funding, you should be. Because this is how you're going to be able to build in the future. You come in front of council and you've heard council members say, there's not enough parking. Well, we don't need to build enough parking if we adequately fund transit. And so I'm going to advocate, that is my challenge to developers and anyone who engages with a developer for any type of development, especially Tampa Heights, you all are getting it all the time. So ask them the last time they advocated to the city for transit funding. So that I will stop my soapbox there. But please, if you are at all interested in learning more, visit Transit Now Tampa Bay or talk to me afterward. I'm happy to talk.
Are there any questions or feedback on how? Yes.
Is there some way additional transit in our city with the extensive and large construction projects that are slated for this neighborhood?
So the question was, can we add transit money to some of the projects? And there are some impact fees that handle that. I don't know that it's enough to actually move a needle right now. So what we're trying to do, so like I said, this was parking fee funding. It would be great if we could get council to say half of all parking fee funding is going to go to transit. Just
Have your bus stops. So if I'm building
Yes. Yes. So looking at impact fees is absolutely something that I'd like to do to make sure it's more. Yes, that is very true. We've been working on that for public safety and for green space and a couple other things. So yes, you're right. We need to do that.
So blue one, finally blue one. Could you tell me if the coalition has anything or any connection with that? Because this is a year and we're 10 months away from the end of the year. We want to have, particularly for that that's left for us to continue this little concept.
Yes. So the question was how has the advocacy group been working with the BRT? Yes. So I sit on the TPO, the Transit Planning Organization, and that is one of the things. Unfortunately, the state legislature decided they didn't like the Sunrunner because homeless people rode it. So they put fares back on, and then their legislator went to the legislature and said, in order to have a BRT, now you have to have 6,000 people riding it day one, which it looks like we probably could get there. They won't let us use dedicated lanes anymore. So the idea was to take one lane from Florida. They won't let us do that anymore. I mean, there's just, they keep trying, which is why I'm trying to focus locally on what we can do. It's not perfect, but you know, there's a pendulum can only swing so far before it comes back. And when BRT comes, I want us to be ready with all the connections that are possible. So my hope is at the end of this, people like it so much that they rally and advocate to keep this and possibly extend it. If not the fare free aspect, at least the frequency aspect. Because if we could add frequency to, say, the 6, I know that's another heavily traveled one that goes east-west. If we could do that. So small incremental growth every year until we can get that BRT going. However, we have been told that the BRT is going to be $95 million. So 1.5 million versus 95, we have a lot more room to grow here before we can grow there. So, anyone else? Oh, I'm sorry, a bus rapid transit. So what it would do, it mimics like a fixed guide, like a train. So it would have its own lane on Florida Avenue and Tampa. So it would take the far right-hand lane, and that would be for bus only or for people who are turning right. That way it leaves the lane and it allows the bus to go a lot faster. There are also possibilities at intersections. They have some software that allows the light to turn green so the bus can keep going. It's a rapid, so you're going faster, which makes you want to get on it so that you don't have to be stuck in traffic. So it's trying to encourage more people to get on. Anyone else? If not, I'll still be here at the end of this. So if you have any other questions for me or for Donnie, yeah.
And there are copies of the flyers and everything at the back table.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. That was very informative. Appreciate it. And although she couldn't be here, a shout out to Dana Lazarus. She's ill today. Hopefully she's watching online. If she's not, yeah, she is. I see her name on the screen. Hey, Dana. Dana has been one of the, how do I put this, Lynn? Certainly one of the most vocal, most active individuals in the transit advocacy sphere now for years. And this particular project is one that she took on full bore. And so anyway, congratulations to her and to Lynn and to the members of the City Council that supported this project for having the vision to see it through. Hope all of you will be able to make the March 1st ride along. I'm going to encourage members of our board to be there. That's 12 of us. So hopefully we'll get at least that body count on there and several others. But I think we can't advocate for something we don't understand. And, you know, oddly enough, I'm sure there are a lot of people, even in the urban core, which we are, who have never been on a bus in the city of Tampa. I grew up riding a bus, but it's been a long time since I've used it regularly. And I know a lot of people it's going to be new. So thank you for doing that. Okay, with that said, and we were talking about transit-oriented development, so it blends very nicely with our next presentation. Dan Coakley is here from PMG Affordable and his team. There are three of them. I'll let Dan do the omnibus introductions to give us an update on Robles Park Village development. Come on up, Dan. And I'll remind you, if we come to Q&A, which I'm sure you will, to please repeat the question so folks at home will be able to hear you, right? Yeah.
Thank you, Rick. I didn't realize it's been so long since we've been back here. We won't let that happen again. And thank you, Councilwoman Hurtak, for that. That's amazing. Those results so quickly. So my name's Dan Coakley. I'm with PMG. We're Tampa Housing Authority's master developer partner, along with Bank of America Community Development Company, Eileen Pope, who developed Encore with, among other things, with Tampa Housing Authority. Kind of over the last, whatever, 9 months since we formally presented to you, we've been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So it's now actually a good time to really get, re-engaged over the next year as we kind of approach developing vertically. You've seen, those of you who've been to previous presentations have seen this. This is just kind of a before and after with the master plan superimposed on the land area. Here, this kind of is an updated summary of the unit count that we're looking at. Everything on here is affordable, except the parcel that's closest to Florida Avenue is slated to be a market rate project. Every other building has 80% mixed income units across the spectrum, below 80% AMI, and 20% unrestricted units.
Dan, I'm sorry.
Yes.
To interrupt.
Sure.
I've seen this presentation before, and even I'm having a bit of a difficult time orienting to what I'm seeing. Could you orient us to the roads and
what
the park is now, just so people know?
Sorry about that. So you see the park to the south, to the southeast, that's Robles Park and Robles Pond. The top border above the very, I would go over to the picture, but I want to speak into the microphone. You can take this with me? Okay, well, we get two. Should I bring them both? Okay. So you got Virginia at the top. You've got Central coming down here, obviously Lake and Florida. This is where the Zion Cemetery Memorial and Genealogy Center will be. And we were actually there this morning for ceremony and the unveiling of the marker to designate that. Yeah, Avon, Emily, there. Is that?
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Sorry about that. So 1,850 units total. Again, well over 2/3 of that is affordable housing. And this is really kind of, this will be kind of the bones of it and the meat of it in terms of what we've been doing over the last 9 months and where we're at. You know who we are, introduced ourselves as the master development partner. You know what Robles is. So third quarter 2000 of last year, we got final zoning approval by City Council. We got our PD zoning approval. After that, we were able to submit a funding application with Florida Housing, who's really the primary financing vehicle for affordable housing vertical developments, for our first vertical phase, which we refer to as Parcel D, which is here. That'll be the first vertical development. It'll have 220 units and the hub community center on the ground floor and part of the second floor. A community center that we received $4 million in federal funds for and $2 million matching grant from Tampa Housing Authority. So we applied for funding, last quarter, and we've also been submitting grant applications to the EPA, to HUD, and DOT. And one of the grants we actually submitted to DOT was, it was formerly known as the RAISE grant. Now Trump renamed it, like he's renaming everything, to the BUILDS grant, to what he had before. We submitted a $15 million funding request. We partnered with the city in doing that. 10 million to Robles infrastructure, 5 million to the city. I think roughly $500,000 actually went to HART, kind of joined us in the effort for new shelters, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So we're really keenly interested in the transportation aspect of the development, supporting that. Sorry? Was not approved. We have, we're probably the, of all the funding cuts and things that are out there, we're the most optimistic about that one. That was a supported grant program during the last Trump administration. And, we have a pretty compelling application there. We're less optimistic maybe about the EPA grant. But so we actually got informed that we were preliminarily selected for funding for Parcel D. In Florida, there's an extensive challenge and litigation process that you have to go through, that we're going through right now, but we were one of the awarded projects in this cycle, which would effectively mean that Parcel D could commence construction with some variables accounted for in terms of, demolition and site work and all those things that we can talk more about, probably first quarter 2026, maybe early first quarter 2026. So we're looking forward to that being confirmed here over the next few weeks. And, we're now in the mode of moving full steam ahead of designing that building, moving forward toward the demolition and financing the significant amount of infrastructure work that will have to go into the site in advance of going vertical on that phase. I mentioned demolition. It's an extensive approval process you have to go through with HUD to get approval for Tampa Housing Authority to get approval for demolition. That's really in their camp. That's their responsibility, but we've been obviously side by side with them. We are now have gotten the extensive environmental approval it's called a Part 58 approval from HUD, and THCA will be going out with an RFQ kind of procurement process for a demolition contractor. We think demolition could be in the kind of May, June, July timeframe. That's what we're hopeful of. And if you're hearing any new noises around Robles, it's not demolition. The FBI has actually been there, conducting training exercises.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what they're doing, but there's a lot of kind of militarized personnel over there conducting training exercises. I didn't actually know about it, so I think Tampa Housing Authority permitted them to do that. What's that? Are they going beyond 8 p.m.? Oh, okay. Well, I'll talk to Leroy tomorrow about it for sure, and I'll get back to you, Lynn. I know we're meeting on Friday. So the demolition, and we're simultaneously doing, finishing our extensive infrastructure plan, stormwater plan, and when the site is demolished, we'll commence site work with all that. And depending upon kind of the funding that we get from these different grants, which will support that infrastructure funding. We will likely phase the infrastructure to do the southern half of the property first, because that's where the first vertical phases will be. It'll be Lake Avenue, obviously. Lake Avenue will be redone, and then the southern part of the property, and move to the north after we do that. And as I said, commencing with construction on Parcel D, we're hopeful for first quarter of next year. This is, and this is why it's timely, I think, to get back connected with the Civic Association, because now we're starting the design process on these buildings, and this is kind of like in where we are with Parcel D right now, and where the hub will be. You can see kind of the hub, the community center delineated on the ground floor and in the second floor space. And, this is a pretty unusual architectural feature for an affordable housing building. So we're really, trying to go the extra mile to make this, obviously indistinguishable from a high-end market rate product.
The north elevation is on Lake.
This is the corner of Lake and Avon. The hub it's a 25,000 square foot community center that will be owned and operated by a nonprofit that we're going through a process to select, who will actually run that and own it separately from the building. It won't be a Tampa Housing Authority facility. It will have, primary care, medical help there. It will have, relationships with, different colleges for, education opportunities. We have a separate child care center program, but it may be located in there. It's really, we're still kind of figuring out who's actually going to be taking spaces in there. We've gone through kind of some of the community features of this project before. As I said, we were at Zion Cemetery this morning, and that's really kind of opening up and moving forward in terms of the memorial and genealogy center that are planned for that part of the project. Again, that's been kind of, because of some issues and private landowners up there, it hasn't moved forward as expeditiously as we had hoped, but the board there has been extremely good and patient about moving that forward, and I think that is now getting some real traction. The memorial walk is kind of a walkway that is, will kind of feature history of the neighborhood, history of Robles, with artwork along the entire, walkway there and throughout that memorial plaza. We're obviously retaining the beautiful grand oaks in between, the bottom two buildings there, what will be the first vertical building, and then the building on Emily. That'll create just a beautiful natural kind of courtyard and park there that will integrate well with the larger Robles Park to the south. We talked a little bit about the hub community center and health and wellness, education, jobs and economic vitality, and basic needs. So the providers and the space users in that space will be addressing those kind of basic elements. Wanted to put the image below on connectivity and walkability. That is a diagram that was part of our Builds Grant application with the city, where that is adding, walkway connectivity under the underpass next to Robles. So some of the money, if we were to be successful in getting those grant proceeds, would go toward that.
That's Lake Avenue.
That's Lake. Yeah, that's Lake going through the underpass. We have been working closely with Robin Nye and the art department of the city. And, we can certainly speak to that, and Eileen can speak better to that than I can. And we've gone, now to the point where we're getting close to kind of an evaluation and interview of various artists who can kind of take the lead in that. I don't know if you want to. Yeah.
So, and I just wanted to point out that this is just an example, like a marker. We've been working with Robin for well over a year now, and she's narrowed it down to a select group of artists that we really like, most of them local, if not local and neighboring. And we're going to set out a request for a call for artists. And we actually met with the Tampa Housing Authority and, you know, summarized what we have found and the different styles that are out there. And it varies from tiles to sculptures to whatever. So we just wanted to put a marker in there. That's not what it's going to be, but we will be interviewing those artists probably mid to late next year to sort of get that going. And what we've talked about with Robin and I is to connect Robles to the Soul Walk that's going through Tampa. So this will be a destination place as part of the Soul Walk. And we'll heavily bring into, we're trying to figure out like how to help with the Zion Cemetery. And, you know, I know that they don't own that. Tampa Housing Authority doesn't own it. We won't own it. But we want to somehow make that all connected and bring that as, you know, where people, when they go in through the Soul Walk, they walk through the Robles development and they end up at Zion Park Cemetery. So that's it.
And I think that is what we had, but we just wanted to provide a basic update and, you know, provide, you know, significant time for questions. And certainly also now, as I, you know, said, now that things are really moving and we're on a path, you know, we're really on a development path, we can definitely and would love to, you know, be more regular, you know, in providing these updates, whether it's quarterly or, I mean, we're here, we're renting space in your building. And so that's our project office.
All right, well, Q&A. Kareem.
Got a question for you, Dan. Talking about the fair to restore the village.
Yep.
As you know, the elevation of the project, in relation to Robles Park itself, the actual park is much higher. So there's a lot of runoff from that, from that across down to the park. And you see the increase in the amount of water that we've had because of the two storms that we had. Of course, you know, we had some flooding there at Robles Park, us residents who are around the park. Is there, of course, there's the drainage, if you can talk more about that, but also I want to know if the surface is more permeable and being able to absorb what it is right now, maybe if you got it later on.
So
Could you give a shot at summarizing that question?
yes, so I think, and Rick, you had said even when we spoke that you know, the hurricane, you know, the Milton flooding that resulted of Robles Pond was you know, clearly a concern, and to speak about that. I can say that what happened in that event evidently was a result of the failure of the pumps. So, and that's a city issue, but you know, obviously we want to be connected to it. We don't, when we started looking at this project, you know, 5 years ago now at this point, I thought, and we were originally told that our stormwater solution, our drainage actually was to that pond, like a lot of Tampa Heights is. That's actually not the case. We tie into a city system that drains to the southwest. So we do, you know, our stormwater solution, the existing stormwater solution at Robles, this is not intended to be ending in Robles Pond. I'm sure that in that hurricane event, there was runoff from the property ultimately just because it was so saturated, you know, in every direction. If you notice on this, you know, there's no real retention, you know, right now on the site. We've added significant detention, you know, stormwater retention throughout. So all the way up here, right here, and this all ties into the stormwater connections here, and then this will connect into the system that goes to the southwest. So there is no, you know, there are no retention ponds on Robles right now. now we're in a situation where we will have no, I think like, you know, I'll have to get back to you on the technical term, but we have like a net zero stormwater impact based on the solution that we put in there, which is pretty extensive. I don't know if that, does that answer it? 60%?
Lena?
Lena?
Thank you. Before Milton, we had never, ever, for going on 50 years. We agreed that the city said that they were there on later that night, trying to get the pumps working. But that's not happening. And then this, the wastewater, which is also a, that backup did not come. So we ended up being in the middle of 3 feet of water that smelled, that had a loud smell. We assumed that it was a mixture of storm water, wastewater. We didn't even know if the drinking water was really bad. In fact, we're risking like we kind of got. And the other families that were lower bill houses from the area. It was really bad. But prior to that, we had never had this kind of experience. Then we had a rain on a month ago. And the pump was the same situation. The pump was working. The rain flooded us so quickly. It was scary.
Mm.
So now we are coming back, totally supporting the development of Robles. We've been advocating that for years and years and years. But it seemed to us, and I'm glad we have our city council person here, because when actually had her assistant actually came and brought talks to help us out to try to take care of the hurricane. But it seems to us now, after that experience, and what we know is going to be the change of weather patterns. We need to really have a conversation with the city, their engineers, everybody who's concerned. Because at the end of the day, the project is going from 420, 1,800.
Yeah.
It's a big number. And we planned it before this storm. So we really, really need to have conversation with engineers, everybody concerned, so that we can see what's going on in Robles. Of course, my big thing is that flood was more impacted by DOT putting up all those walls, extending all those impermeable surface right in our neighborhood. And you could actually see, Roger has pictures of the water washing down off of the interstate into our area. So we got all of these things impacting us. Really, really need to back down and make sure that to the extent possible that we address what's changed and what we expect to do.
Yeah, we're totally open and on board with that. I mean, we're going through, you know, what's called a PLN process right now, which is a very detailed engineer-driven infrastructure plan, which includes all of infrastructure and including the stormwater system. That will have to go through the city for an approval with city engineers and everyone involved, and completely happy to have you part of that process.
Karen?
I'm just curious, so when you're working with the city, you're going through the approvals, and I know that development code is where it is right now, things like that. There's a number of community vulnerability maps that have been done, and ones that are completed countywide, which include the city in 2020, new ones that are just about finished up with the city right now, additional ones that are being done again countywide, will be probably finished up this fall. So I know this because I've been producing them. And the question is, have any of those maps in terms of the flood predictions for 2050 and 2080 been taken into account in this? Because what we're finding with the flood vulnerability, right, is that what we normally look at as under here is much more frequent, and it's not necessarily under. So what we're going to see is going to be a lot more. And so I haven't seen it work its way fully into policy. I'm just curious if this is something that has come up as we're planning larger scale developments like this in areas that especially just recently saw unprecedented.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be inaccurate for me to say that it has come. Oh, I'm sorry. So there are the question related to there are reports and studies that kind of show increased stormwater flood vulnerability as it relates to, I think, changing weather patterns and severity of storms and things of that nature. Is that fair to on the question?
Yes, it is.
General, okay. So I would say, we have gone to city standards and beyond, but we have probably not looked at those kinds of things way out there. I mean, I'd be happy to look at those reports and have our engineers look at those reports, but we have not today, kind of, I don't think I've seen those reports yet.
So one of the things that we've been doing is looking at the directionality of water basins. And as you look at the direction of water push during these extreme events in particular, including rainfall, which actually will be more impacted by rainfall than any other type of flooding as we go through the years. And, this is our 2050 projections are only 25 years away. And the major roadway systems, particularly interstates and wide roads, are actually dividing, right, that is forcing water in certain directions. And so that was just because this is so near an interstate, and it could have a definite.
Could we get those reports and maybe respond and address that at the next update as well?
Can you speak to for example, Lake Avenue, there's gonna be roads for the road and sit there as part of this and maybe bikeability, walkability there. Just because right now it's great. Is that been thought about as part of this?
Yeah, I mean, all the streets will be new, complete streets that are walkable and bikeable. Lake will be an entirely new street. I'd say the only issue that is of a little concern that we're trying to work on is being able to connect that sidewalk system on the north side of Lake all the way over to Florida, because we don't own that piece that has the satellite on it. So we're back and forth with the landowner there, and we're trying to figure out an easement or some kind of a solution so that's not chopped off there.
Roger?
And by the way, if I can just want one more thing, I'm sorry. And we're also talking to Sacred Heart. We obviously don't own that property on the south side of Lake, but we're talking to Sacred Heart about how we can do something about the fact that there's really no sidewalk on that side of the road either. And the gate is kind of flush up to the street.
Right, I'm very happy to see that it's on the Encore property, and for the reason that it redefines the Encore project. It is no longer just a subsidized housing. It is part of the city. It has subsidized housing, but it has this wonderful enterprise, this building that's going up, which will increase the value of the entire project. Do you have parcels designated for some future?
Yes. So Eileen was the developer of Encore with Tampa Housing Authority, so you can speak to Encore. But parcel BA, the parcel that's that will have height to it. That will have, I think we're permitted to go 150 feet on that building. So that will be a 12 to 15 story building, market rate housing. And throughout this city. Oh yeah, we'll have over 100,000 square feet of commercial throughout on, ground floor, especially activated on both sides of Lake Avenue. In the market rate parcel, the one I identified as being taller, closer to Florida, there'll be, we're 20,000 square foot grocer of some kind. I mentioned the hub community facility, at the bottom of the first vertical parcel that we're going to develop, but all on the frontage of Lake, especially, there'll be a lot of retail and commercial there. And even we're hoping to do some retail on this parcel deep down here and kind of connect it to the activity of the park, of Robles Park. Do you want to speak to the impact of the,
Oh,
no?
I don't know that there was a question to that, but yeah, we're very pleased with the development of the Encore site. And I know that it took a long time, but, we put up the 4 affordable or mixed income buildings first. And we had a lot of offers for people that wanted to put up storage facilities, and we said, no. We're going to deliver the plan, and it's really exciting. I know it's taken a long time, but it's really exciting. Yes, the value of the land and the tax that, will be given, contributed to the CRA, and it's just really wonderful. And Dr. Patel is just absolutely wonderful. So there's 13 lots on that site, and only 4 of them are the mixed income. The rest are commercial or, high-end market rate hotel. So we're really pleased. So glad you said that.
Other questions? Nicole?
So you said that you're in the early stages of design, and I like that you're trying to push the parcel over here that's on Florida and between 7th and Oak. They took the oculus that were former partners of Tampa Heights and actually built those into the column of the new structure. And I thought that was a really cute, clever way to tie this with the building. Have you all identified any such markers, that you can pull from? I don't know what. Have you identified anything like that? You can incorporate directly into the structure.
We'd be very much open to that. We haven't gotten to the stage where we're at that level of design yet, but we would be looking for opportunities to do that throughout the project. So any feedback on that that's specific that you have, whether it's screenshots or anything like that, Lena has all and Rick have all my direct cell and contact, but we're looking for ways to do that, whether through art or history or markers or any of that.
So, yes, ma'am.
I was just thinking about the tremendous asset which is development and how it's really tied in the rest of the urban core to the area. Is there any kind of opportunity for community gardens in space?
Lena, you want to answer that for me?
I'm so
Okay. It's part of what?
It said that's definitely a part of our plan. That's part of our moving on.
Okay. Can we use part of your property over there across Central? No, I'm joking.
So we are working for us, we are developing what we're face because so many of our families who have lived in this area for generations are now price over there. So we are looking to keep Central Avenue with 2 miles, that's 2 miles of Central Avenue, to create something of a place keeping that includes. So we're talking to, we've been working on it and also connecting the health. And so we're now starting to talk more as we get to this point. So we'll have more conversations about that. And you know, what beautiful community are here. So you've demonstrated how good we are at this.
I mean, I think obviously the space on the site is limited, and we have, you know, a lot of community amenities kind of programmed into the site and parks programmed into the site. If we can somehow figure it out, we'll try to figure it out. There's also other land, like I talked about the satellite parcel. There's other ancillary parcels around the site, which potentially we could pick up and kind of expand the ability to do things like that, you know, within the context of the development.
Other questions? Yes, ma'am. In the back.
Yeah, actually, so the city has been great in working with us to really limit the amount of parking on the site, or you know, let us be as tight as possible. Number of parking spots that we have programmed, I don't know that we have that right now, but I think we're at we're less than one per unit, I think. Yeah, I mean, Ronan, I think you know what we're at. Yeah, I mean, we've gone through the whole process and had parking studies done, and you know, we obviously didn't want to have an asphalt, you know, the thing covered by asphalt, but we can. The answer is I'll have to get back to you on that. We can actually probably respond to that within an hour. I'll email. Is that right?
Yeah, we'll get something out. Yes, sir.
You said 1,800 units for what you're building. You know how many were there when it was, you know,
432.
Next question. Yes, sir.
I want to say thank you for incorporating the design on Memorial into all this and just doing all the work to make it happen. A lot of community support.
Thank you.
Any other questions in the room? Is there anything online, Jason? No? Okay, well, there's no other Q&A. I guess we're good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, that's the end of our program. Yeah, give me a minute. Give me a second. I just wanted to put one add-on to the discussion that we've been having about Robles Park. The back and forth between Lena and Dan was very instructive. For those of you who were hearing about it for the first time, there is an effort afoot percolating up out of our board to set up what I'm calling a Robles Park Summit. Lena has been a spearhead for this, and I've been a little slow in the execution, but it's one of the things that's on me to try to get done, to bring these various stakeholders together, including the developer for Robles Park Village, the DOT, the city, the county, to bring all of those people together to have a discussion in one room at one time, perhaps a town hall meeting, and then follow-up meetings, so that we'll have an opportunity to get our arms around the various issues that are confronting the Robles Park Bowl, I'll call. You know, I don't think anybody wants to see you develop this lovely property and then have you flood out. It could happen to you too. That was a hell of an experience we had during Milton. So that is coming, and it'll be coming in relatively short order over the next month or two. And I'll make sure that you guys are involved. Lena, come on up. Please come on up to the mic.
Just want to announce our summer program planning for our Junior Civic Association. It's going to start on June the 9th. For June, it's going to be Monday through Thursday. We were working with the Y to do the swimming program that would include Friday morning. But since the federal monies have been pulled back, we don't know how that's going to happen. But the Children's Board has already funded the enhancement, and of course, the county provides the funds for the basic program. So it starts on June the 9th and ends on the 31st of July. We're going to open up for registrations online by next week. So if you know anyone who's interested, our programs are free. They're awesome. A lot of activities. The children really, we try to give them some really rich experiences during the summer. So just know that by next week, we should be able to send out information about opening for registration for summer program. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Is there anything else from the group for the good of the order? Dan? All right, we're going to have a follow-up to the question about parking spots.
Sorry about that. So we're going to still email around the information on the entire master plan. But for example, on the first vertical development, parcel D at the middle, 220 units. We have 203 garage spots, 20 on-street car spaces, 9 motorcycle spaces, and 62 bicycle spaces. So it's they're what? Oh, Ronan?
And within this,
Yeah, covered.
and yeah, it's yours.
When you say secured, what does that mean? What do you mean?
Or something like that. There's a really lovely example of one. Actually, right when you get off the interstate, there's a brand new development. This gorgeous iron with all the little bikes that sit out of it. It's just protected. Bikes now are expensive.
Yeah.
People want to make sure they're in a space that's protected, so they don't have to worry about people taking their bikes or.
Okay.
There's that in there.
Yeah, I didn't even really understand it, so I'm glad that yeah. Okay. Oh yeah.
Great.
You almost got a clean getaways, but wait.
Oh, okay.
There's another question.
The apartments across the street from the public, Flatbridge and Tampa General Hospital and Bay Shore, they have an upstairs bicycle storage. They still have that. And there's behind the second floor, their bicycle storage. Nothing.
Yeah, I get into the apartment, I think it's the ones by like a front porch. I was gonna consider, and theirs, it's like inside of when you have to like keep off the into the bottom floor.
Yeah, it's right. Yeah,
Yes.
it is really nice. If you guys have to look at it.
Yeah, please.
You haven't talked about. You realize.
Yeah, so there's a few different pieces of information. We'd love to get those reports, and is there a way to get, should I just give my email address out or
We
what?
can give your email address out here, and we can certainly put it out on social media.
Okay. I mean, it's fine. Yeah, so dcoakley@pmgaffordable.com. DCOAKLEY@pmgaffordable.com. Thank you.
And if all else fails, submit it to the Tampa Heights Civic Association account, and we can forward on. Again, any other questions or comments for the good of the order? If not, we're adjourned. Thank you all.